through chapters 46 through 50 of one of our favorites, A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah. Join us as we book talk our way through one of our favorites.
Damn it. I hate these stupid... It's too full.
We need to drink too much.
Okay. Oh, well.
Drink
Let's
more.
drink a little more,
well.
Justine, for the podcast. Okay,
right.
Justine.
Let's get in it.
I am so excited, but I also want to die because this is my favorite and least favorite part in the book. I don't know how something can be both, but it is. And I've been waiting for this, and I was prepping today. I literally started crying, I think 3 times, Justine. I think I cried 3 times today just because of these 5 chapters. I haven't done math in a while. I am a teacher, but I don't do math. Okay. So.
Yeah, I didn't prepare myself, and I was just coming in thinking that this is going to be a fine and dandy, podcast session.
The normal,
episode,
the usual.
And it's not.
Oh man,
it's not.
Gonna be
sadly.
Yeah, that's why I pulled out all the stops. We got cookies, we got beverages, we got, I don't know, good lighting. I don't know. I was like, I'm prepared for that. I should have brought tissues. Darn it.
Tissues.
It's okay. I have toilet paper. I'll just grab that.
There you go.
Okay.
So 46.
All right, so start with 46.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Cheers to 46.
Chapter 46.
Shall I read my cliff notes, or would you like to read my cliff notes?
You should definitely read your cliff notes.
Okay, I'll read my cliff notes. Cliff notes for this is, again, these are my own words to summarize this chapter. Number 1 is Nesta's fury. That's basically what this all is. And you know what? I love a good female rage moment. And I think that's why I love and hate this. Because I'm like, honestly, I love to see it, but also it just makes me so sad. Anyways, and then I have Nesta versus Amren.
Yep.
Basically a showdown. So literally my next note was, it goes down.
It goes down.
It goes down.
It's
and
going
then
down.
It is going down. And I'm not happy about it. You have found my flabbergasted button and you have pressed it. Oh my word. We should do a bingo card for how many new girl quotes we can say in the podcast. That'd be such a fun game.
That would be so fun.
Listen in next week and have a bingo card.
Let's do it. Oh my god, I love that.
Okay. And then my last is Feyre tells Rhys, and then I say, oh, Rhys.
Oh, this part broke my heart.
Oh.
But, so, for, like, where we left off is she was rage rippling like a storm around her. Nesta stepped back into Valarius at last.
Yeah, so she went down those stairs.
She's down the stairs, all 10,000.
All 10,000.
And she's looking at Valarius.
Yep, and she's like, I'm here. And she's like,
I'm here.
Nothing's going to stop me.
And I was like,
when
I was first reading this, I was like, where's she going to go? What's she going to do, right?
Oh, yeah, what did you first think when she went down there? What do you think was going to happen?
I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't really remember. I just probably knew, like, she's gonna yell at people, right? Like, she's gonna go see somebody. I just didn't quite think it would be Amren. But I think, I don't know. I think that one hits different for her because, like, they were friends.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first read this...
I think she expects it with everyone else.
Yeah, it's not. But for some reason, when I first read this, I thought it was going to be Rhys. I thought she was going to go off...
Really?
I kind of saw the whole wink thing.
I think part of me thought it was Feyre,
I thought she was going to go off on Rhys and say, I'm going to tell Feyre about this, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, wait, why would she go for Feyre? That wouldn't have made sense.
Well, I think I kind of thought that because she was, like, part of it, but I was like, oh, but she would never... I thought she would never hurt Feyre, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Anyways.
Rhys would make sense, though, but I think she saw it coming from Rhys.
Yeah, she probably was like,
it
is what it is.
Too.
That's true, and that's what made her snap, was like, knowing that Amren, which, so sad. Okay, so, jump right in. I have a couple on the first page.
I have one on the first page. You can go first.
Okay, so as I tracked this, I wanted to see at which, and I'm trying to remember this from when I read it, because, again, I'm a big Nesta supporter. I'm her #1 fan. I'll take that to the grave. But I was noting when it got to the point of, oh, right now Nesta's justified to, oh, now it's not.
Too much.
So I have different notes that say, hey, you know what? I'm still not justified. That's fine. Okay. So my first note was, okay, so she happened to come across Amren and Varen in a very busy time right now. They're doing their little business and they freak out when she comes in.
Yep.
Which I don't even know how she like got there so fast, but she was just like, oh my word. Oh, it said Nesta yielded to her fury. So at this point, literally her fury, like she just let it take over. Like all the restraint, all the training, it is just gone. She even said it shattered beneath her palm, wards fracturing like glass. So I'm like, oh, snap. That's how it's about to go down.
Snap.
So then Varian tries to like shield it with water, blah, blah, blah. And then, and I just put, so Nesta said, you thought I shouldn't even be told my powers can do. So she starts right away. She doesn't care that they're in the middle of doing what they're supposed to do. So I just put that. She has no shame. Right here, totally justified. She's going off on Amren. Yeah, a knock on the door would have been nice. But you know, it's fine. she's upset right now. It's very whatever. Varian kind of freaks out, but I'm like, okay, this is clearly a quote unquote family issue, Varian. Step aside. Even though he's all like, I'm gonna protect Amren. It's like blah blah blah. So even on the next part where he's like, Varian was like staying there to protect her. So Nesta snorted, bitterness coating her tongue, and then basically Nesta told Varian to get out, and she was just saying how.
This part made me sad. Like once Amren had been that person for her, the person she knew would defend her in a fight would speak for her, and I think that's why like it hit her cut so deep.
Exactly.
Because there's that one person that
if she probably voted yes or didn't vote, she probably wouldn't have had this like crazy of a. I mean, she would have been upset, but I don't think like dude, this.
Stop voting it against like my own personal rights or whatever. For real.
Like she'd still be upset about it, but I think
she would not have raged like that.
And then even afterwards, like right after that sentence. The one below it just says, presumably to tell the others, but Nesta didn't care. Mm-hmm. So she was like, okay, Varian probably went to whatever. And for me, that's when I was like, oh, snap. Like, okay, she was already upset. But once Nesta doesn't care, I was like, oh, damn, it's gonna, whatever. And then, okay, this part, I didn't notice the first time I read it, and I was actually pretty peeved off. It said, Amren said, I suppose that loudmouth bastard told you more than was necessary.
She called him that.
She called him that. That's
I
so
totally
mean.
didn't even catch that.
I didn't get that either, but I was reading it.
Everyone that's the word, right? That everyone calls him.
He's like brute-born bastard or whatever.
What it was.
It's brute, but he doesn't like bastard any better. Yes. So I was like, Amren, that's not very nice.
And like her friend, like
literally
supposed friend, you know.
So I'm like, Amren's kind of a B right now. Like
I have never I liked her in the beginning.
Yeah, sure, me too.
Because I was like, okay, she's kind of like a cool, you know, like I don't know, chill person.
Yeah.
But I just don't like her that much anymore.
Yeah, I didn't like her that much. The more it came, and that's why I kind of wish she died in that last book.
I wish she could have. Like everyone would have been like, oh, that's sad. Like one of them died, you know. Mm-hmm. But like it's Amren, so
yeah. Unless I literally wonder if she kept her for this book. She's like, you know what? Maybe. I need a scapegoat. It's gonna be Amren.
Was when Amren was dying and then like she got saved or whatever. Was her and Nesta friends by that point?
I think so.
Okay.
I think she was still training.
Because maybe
with
it was
her.
like kind of she was thinking like, okay, maybe like Nesta and Amren, like that's kind of like Nesta's only friend, and like she's kind of already building up to this moment. Maybe it was something like that, but if they weren't even friends, then I wouldn't see why.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think maybe they were, like, they started training together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Amren has always been kind of, like, colder, obviously. She's more of that, like, standoffish. But still, I thought that was kind of a...
That is rude.
Like, okay, you're pissed at Nesta right now, but the fact that she said that, I was like, hey. Okay, and then after that I have... Okay, she's like, you voted against me, and she said you have done nothing to prove you're able to handle such a terrible power. Which I still am like, how would you know?
And
like,
also, what has she done that, like...
Literally.
I just don't understand. I'm trying to think, like, has she done anything that she... with the power?
She kind of goes on later to describe it a little bit in detail, but that point right there, she's like, oh, you did nothing to prove. But then I'm also like, well, how would you know, Amren? Like, you haven't been around the past few weeks or months.
You haven't watched her train and work super hard and stuff like that. Not. Cassian is the only one that could judge that.
Exactly. You know? So the fact that you're all like, but like...
And then I was interested in this part, too, when they were talking about, like, on that barge. Yeah. You told me as much when you walked away from any attempt at mastering it. I offered to teach you more, and you walked away. And then she said, like, I walked away because you chose my sister. Mm-hmm. I thought that was interesting because we hadn't really learned much about what happened to them.
I completely forgot this part, like, her explaining it all. Yeah. And at first, so when I first just read that, I was like, really, Amren? That's it? That's the only reason? Is you walked away from my offer. Like, okay. But but a little bit, I'll kind of keep reading because she kind of mentions a little more later on. But I do understand, and I kind of try to see from Amren's point of view that I was like, oh, maybe this is one of, like, Amren's only friends, too, right? Yeah, like... It's not like she has a lot of people, so maybe she was just as
I do see that she's pretty similar to Nesta in some ways. Mm-hmm. Just, like, this kind of stubbornness, coldness, you know, like...
And I also noted afterwards, when she said, like, okay, she picked Farah instead of her, a part of me is already seeing Nesta growing, because right here, she's not saying that she hates Farah or she doesn't like her. She's very much just bitter, but she's not like upset at Farah anymore. You know, like she used to kind of hate her.
If anyone mentioned her, it was
and she still kind of said that she's like, oh yeah. Okay, I'll keep going. I guess I have a little more to say
because I was like, it kind of explains it a little bit more too. Like I told you that Farah had requested you and I to work together, and you somehow twisted that into me siding with her.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was when Nesta was very, very like touchy with Farah, like touchy about anybody bringing
She's like, don't bring it up.
So like, in her eyes, it was like, oh, like kind of like the same thing with Cassian, and like, I feel like it was like the same type of thing where it was like, oh, you're only training me because, you know, my sister said to, and whatever.
You're doing
like,
it for her, not for me. Basically.
Yeah, so and so that means you're siding with her pretty much.
And also means she didn't want it.
It was like everyone was against her. You know, it was like everyone against Nesta.
Because they were. She felt like basically, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
And then right after, Amren said, I told them to leave you alone for months. I refused to speak about you with them. So to me, I was like, okay, so she did have some decent, even afterwards. And then she said, the moment I realized my behavior was not helping you, that maybe your sister was right, I somehow betrayed you.
Yeah.
But I still am kind of like weird about that because she said, I realized my behavior was not helping you. But still, her reaction is, oh, this isn't helping Nesta, but Feyre knows what's better. You know? Like, I guess I don't blame it because they're sisters, so maybe she does know what's best.
Yeah.
But, okay, then right after, she said, yes, poor Nesta, or she said, you know how I feel about Feyre. Poor Nesta with a younger sister who loves her so dearly she's willing to do anything to help. And here, at this point, I was like, okay, Amren, that was justified. Some of the other stuff you said, justified. Not justified. Here, I'm like, okay, because Amren,
I agree with that. Like,
me too. Yeah.
I feel like they're like Feyre. I don't know, and maybe it's not true, but like Feyre, I think like actually means well with it.
Like, I think she does too. Like, I think she always has.
I think she's always meant well with it. I don't think she's ever like tried. I don't know, but like I think Nesta can like just get that sense of jealousy and that like I don't know that. I think she's got that insecurity sometimes where it's like, oh, everyone thinks they're better than me.
Yeah.
You know?
I think she believes everyone. Like, I think she has part of that doesn't like her. And at this point, I honestly believe that Feyre and Nesta are both similar in the sense of they truly want what's best for each other, but they honestly don't know each other.
Yeah.
But they have more in common than they think. Yeah. But that's kind of how I see their relationship. And so at this point, I was kind of like, okay, point one, right? And so I keep going. But then right after, this just, again, I think that I'm like veering away from Nesta's like side. I'm like, okay, like Amren has a good point, but I always go back to Nesta because right after she goes, Feyre doesn't love me, and she described she didn't deserve Feyre's love just as Tamlin didn't. Yeah. And I wrote that she was attempting to believe that. I think it's not her honestly saying Feyre doesn't love me. I think she almost wishes she didn't because it would make this so much easier for her.
So much easier.
Because she saw how everyone treated Tamlin. I think she would have preferred that. She'd be like, yeah, cast me out. Leave me alone. Let me to rot wherever. So
doing that.
I know, so this part totally broke my heart because I was like, oh my God. I literally wrote down in my book. I wrote down, I'm in so much pain. Because this was so sad. Okay, and then Amren barked out a laugh. She said that you believe Feyre doesn't only proves you're unworthy of your power. Anyone that willfully blind cannot be trusted. You would be a walking nightmare with those weapons or whatever. But
I feel like I wasn't fully following how that made her untrustworthy.
I think that's Amren a little grasping at straws there.
I felt like it was reaching a little bit for that one. Like, yes, I agree that I don't know. I agree that.
Yeah, see, this is just where Amren lost me a little.
Me too. Like, I gosh, this is tough. But like, yes, she needs to see that Feyre loves her. Like, obviously. Like, that's whatever. I don't see how that really combines with like trusting with the weapons. I guess.
I literally was thinking, okay, Amren, you can think this. That's fine. And you can say this all to Nesta, but I don't see the whole point of not telling her. Because she literally made the same, I think, whoever mentioned made the same point of, well, if we don't tell her, like, who knows what she could do accidentally. Yeah. So I'm like, exactly, Amren. Wouldn't it be worse if she accidentally, killed a bunch of people because of some power versus you telling her and her freaking out?
Like, she knows, like, she would train to handle herself with the weapons.
Right, exactly. And you could say, oh, like, you're not worthy of this power. But she has it.
Yeah.
So your option is either to hide it from her and suppress her, or to tell her and help her.
To me, it's more dangerous that she doesn't know because now she's not aware of it. She's not training for it. She's just, you know, it's just letting loose and whatever happens, and she's like has no idea what's going on.
Pretty much. So that's where Amren lost me. I was like, okay, you were on a roll there for a minute. And then she said like it's different, blah blah blah. Amren's disappointment in her failure to be anything had surfaced at last. That was super sad. But then Amren said you can whatever. So you can train, you can do what you want with Cassian, but it's not going to fix what's broken if you don't start reflecting. Again, I was like, okay, Amren, fair point, sure. Again, she's kind of on and off. And then she kind of freaked out on Amren. She's like, don't preach at me. And then she said, you think I'd mark you with a death promise. And she said, you nearly did with Tamlin the other day. But I'll say to you again what I said on the barge. I think you have powers that you still do not understand, respect, or control. And then she says right after, how dare you assume you know what's best for me. Exactly.
Yeah. But I also thought it was sad when they said, so, you nearly did that with Taylor the other day, and then she said, so Cassian had told them all about that too.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of sad because it was just like
I didn't even catch that.
It wasn't like I don't know. It was just like, oh, he's just gonna tell them about everything.
Yeah.
And it's like
they're gonna
everyone
discuss
against me again.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, now that you say that, I wonder if that just makes her more and more whatever.
Yeah.
I feel knowing that
I get that feeling that's kind of like
are you kidding me?
Okay, like I told you that in private, or like
that's true, especially like
the vulnerable moment in my time, and then you just went and said something.
Like with Amryn, it already hurts. Yeah. But I think him throwing Cassian kind of like in her face a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that was her final straw of like, oh, okay, well. So nobody cares about me. Okay, good to know. Now
everyone's against
me. Because she's already so in the zone.
Was a little bit on my side now, but
I know. Yeah. Oh, so sad. And then Nesta freaked out. She said, "You were my friend." But then, Amryn. Oh, she said, "Was I? I don't think you know what that word means." I was like, Amryn, you lost me again. Come on, that was so mean. I'm sorry. Really that was mean. The worst. And
that was like Nesta trying, like. Maybe she didn't get it right fully.
Yeah, exactly.
But like,
that was
she's trying. Like that was like the first like sort of friend that she had.
No, it literally was her only first friend, especially in the fairy world.
Yeah.
And so I was like, damn. It literally right after that, her chest ached as if that invisible fist had punched her once again.
Yeah.
And then okay, so before that, I'm just gonna say, at this point, again, I'm totally off Amryn's side now. I'm like, you know what, Nesta, I'm back on your side. Yeah. Forget this whore.
Yeah.
I was just so upset at that because. Amryn, I mean, okay, I get it if Amryn's pissed. This is her way of maybe like paying her back and stuff. But yeah, like you said, it was her first friend in the new world and her only one. And then somehow like Cassie and Az were kind of her only other friends after that. Yeah. But now she's seen them all as one because they're literally discussing stuff like this about her, and it's so terrible. And I was gonna say something else. I'm trying to remember.
It's hard because they're all like, it's the inner circle, right? Yeah. And like they're running Valaris, and so it's hard because it's like they need to be discussing stuff about this. Like they need to be discussing like what's happening.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like I get that. But it comes to a point where it's like privacy and like, I don't know. Nesta's already going through a lot, and so it's like, I don't know, a little bit like confidentiality, like
I
know. Like friend, I don't know.
But again, I still think the whole point of like even safety, like tell someone. Oh my, I don't get it. But I'm also against them not telling Farrah about the baby too. I'm against all of this stuff. And I think the whole friend thing hurt her even more is because she's like, oh, I don't think you know what that word means. It's because now she does have friends. She has Gwen and Emery, and I think this hurts even more because now she's not even thinking about them. She's like, I have no friend. I have literally no one. And maybe at this point she's like, because she said the fish punched her or whatever. I think at that point that's where like the blow landed. She was like, okay, you know what? Maybe Emery's, and that's what makes me so sad.
I wish she was like in like a state like a point in her life where she's like, I do have friends that like care about me,
and like kind of like a little,
versus like being like that knocking her down a peg and be like, exactly, shoot, like do I actually?
And
have
I think she was getting there, but I think Amryn ruined the progress now.
I think so too.
This is why it's like words hurt. I kind of wish they just fought it out at this point. It would have been so much easier. I know. But I also noted, and I guess I'll keep an eye out for this for when we keep going. But again, I don't think Amryn ever once apologized to Nesta. Like, you remember Nesta has that moment later, spoiler, although everyone pretty much knows the book, where she apologizes to Amryn. Amryn never did. So I totally hate Amryn now. I'm like,
I don't think she did either.
Oh.
Yeah, I just don't. Honestly, I don't like her. Well, her and Moore are about the same to me. Because I cannot stand what Moore has been doing, but like her and Moore are about the same.
I know, right now it's the same. Anyway, so then she thinks that Cassian's coming, which also broke my heart because a part of her probably like kind of wished it was Cassian to be like, maybe someone else.
It's protecting her.
Then it said, but it was Farrah, and she's just like, stop this. Okay. So sad. Okay.
Yep. So Farrah was just asking like,
so sad.
Nesta should not have come out the way it did, and then she was saying like, my issue is not with Cassian. Like Cassian was the one that told me, but my issue is not with Cassian. And then looked back at Amryn like, I trusted you to have my back.
My quick thing there was she said my issue wasn't with Cassian. She also didn't say it was with Farrah. So see, at this point, Nesta honestly
voted for her too.
Yeah, that's true. And at this point, I was like, honestly, Nesta and Farrah are probably the best they ever have.
The only issue that she has is with Amryn right now.
Yeah, right now it's only with Amryn.
She said it too at one of the points. She was like, I saw it coming with Reese.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I don't remember where she said that.
She's like, I trusted you to have my back. Yeah,
like I stopped, and then Amryn said, wait, was this Amryn?
Yeah.
I stopped having your back the moment you decided to use that loyalty as a shield against everyone else.
Whatever. Whatever. Don't even care. Yeah, and then Farrah tries to stop it, and then, and then she's like, well, come on, Feyre, pull your High Lady card and do whatever you want. And that's where she's like, I respect her. Okay.
Her respect. Is it respect that she offers you, Nesta Spat? Is it respect that your mate offers you? Then Feyre went still.
Oh my word.
And then Amber was like, do not say a single word. And got really angry.
And she full named her. She said, don't say a word, Nesta Archeron.
Nesta Archeron.
And again, at this point, up until this line, I was like, you know what, Nesta? Totally justified. Everything you're saying, fine.
But I think Feyre, like the moment she saw Feyre, that like also hit like a trigger. Like, yes, she didn't have an issue with her, but it hit like a trigger. Like, okay, now everyone, like, I felt like it was like, maybe Nesta thought it was like an ambush, kind of. Have any of you told them, or have any of them told you, their respected High Lady, that the babe in your womb will kill you?
At this point, Amren's still trying. Like, come on, Amren.
Shut your mouth.
If anything, make yourself look good right now and be like, hey, Feyre, like, let's talk about this. Like, don't listen to your sister. But then she says, what do you mean?
Yeah. Nesta ceased.
Yeah.
The boy's Illyrian wings will get stuck in your fey body during labor, and it will kill you both. And then silence rippled. Feyre breathed. Maja just said the labor would be risky, but the bone carver the Sunny showed me didn't have wings. Her voice broke. Did he only show me what I wanted to see? Which I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Okay, the two notes I have before that is that, but then it said silence rippled through the room, the world. And I noted that because I remember someone else saying that something happened that caused, like, their world to shake or something for a second. Oh. I don't know. Something trippy like that. So I just kind of noted that. I was like,
Interesting.
So just with all of this going down,
yeah.
Her saying all of this, I'm not a very much the ends justify the means kind of person. But when she started saying this, I was like, oh crap, everyone's going to be pissed. But a part of me is like, but someone needs to say it. Like, it was getting too far along. It shouldn't have
been this.
Exactly. Like, she's been so far along in the pregnancy at this point that I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of glad that someone's saying it.
Feyre shouldn't have heard it that way, though.
Yeah, exactly.
And
not
it should
in
not
this
have
sense,
come from Nesta.
But I like the whole rest of this.
Because it came out in like a angry, I want to hurt you because everyone's hurt me. Mm-hmm. It came out in that way, and this was like a life or death situation.
It is.
And so
not that was way to deliver
a little bit far, I think.
Yeah, but then she kind of went off and Nesta said, I don't know, but I do know that your mate ordered everyone not to inform you of the truth. And then she told Amren, she's like, did you all vote on that too? So again, she's going back to Amren because that's really her problem. And then she said, did you talk about her, judge her, and deem her unworthy of the truth? Was that your vote, Amren, to let Feyre die in ignorance? So when she mentioned that, to me, her justification came back a little bit. Because I feel like past Nesta would have been like, oh, you know what, Feyre? Like, I would have voted. I don't know. I feel like she could have gone off a little more. But the fact that she ended this, she's like, I have a feeling that honestly, Nesta's probably actually thought about this. Like, she's probably been like, why aren't we telling her? Again, what if she does die during childbirth and no one told her? Like, what a terrible thing.
But also, like, isn't it, like, a little bit hypocritical? Because, like, not that Nesta was, like, going around judging Feyre or anything, talking about her behind her back, but, like, she still didn't say it as soon as she found out either.
Yeah, that's true.
So I feel like it is, like, part of it is a little hypocritical, but it's different because, like, they were voting against her in, like, the sense, like, she's not trustworthy to do this or whatever. I don't know.
But the same thing. It's this
judging
person should not know the truth because we don't know if they can handle it. Same thing in both of their situations.
Yes.
So it goes on to say, so again, at that point, I was like, okay, coming back to Nesta a little bit, I'm like, I don't hate that you said that. And then she just continues, didn't you question why your precious perfect Rhysand has been a moody bastard for weeks? He knows you will die. He knows, and yet he still didn't tell you. And then she says, she freaks out. She's like, if I die, and she started crying. She said, you all knew of this. Same thing. So now Feyre's basically feeling...
Wait, did you catch this? The Feyre began shaking. If I die, her gaze drifted to one of her tattooed arms. Did you catch that? Mm-hmm. I did not catch that.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's why she freaked out, and that's why she... well, I guess I was going to jump down to this point.
I did not catch that.
One paragraph after, that's why she said, Rhys knew, and that's when she started crying.
Yeah.
Because, see, again... If this whole pact between them wasn't a thing, I could understand being like,
so okay, I wonder if she wasn't upset that Rhys didn't tell her.
Yeah.
It was more like she was upset. Maybe not even upset, but maybe she was more hurt. Like,
yeah, she was extremely
like,
hurt.
My mate is gonna die too.
Again, my child, and my mate is gonna die. But he didn't think this was important to tell me. Again, I could honestly see if it was just her pregnancy, I could see her not being upset of like, oh no, I could die in childbirth. I feel like that wouldn't upset her as much. But her knowing that all 3 of them could die, and he's not telling her, and he's bearing this burden himself, I would be livid too.
I don't think she was mad because he kept it from her.
Yeah.
I think she was mad because it was like, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah, she was mad.
Because he was putting this all on himself. Like, this burden, this sadness, this hurt, all by himself. He was doing.
And if the roles were reversed, he would be super pissed. He'd be like, "Why didn't you tell?" Blah blah blah. So that was what I noted the most. Was like my point was just all of that. It was that he knew and said about the threat to our lives. She said, and then this is cry every time. See if I can get through it. So she says, and Nesta knew then that she had not once in her life been loved by her mother as much as Feyre already loved the boy growing within her. It broke something in Nesta, broke that rage, that roaring, seeing those tears begin to fall, the fear crumpling Feyre's paint-smeared face. She had gone too far. She's like, oh snap, I realized this. Yep. And then Amren's like, go talk to Rhys.
Amren said, I think it's best girl. She always like says the girl and boy.
Yeah, so random.
So random.
And then Nesta couldn't bear it, the pain and fear and love on Feyre's face as she caressed her stomach.
Which is, I think, why nobody wanted to tell her. Like,
again, I get it, but it's her most. I know. It's her family's lives.
I know. I get that, but I think
I would be furious. But
it's so tough because part of me would be furious, part of me would be like, I don't know. Like I understand because it's just like there's nothing that Feyre can do. Right. So why put her in this fear? In this pain that like they're all gonna die.
But then on her deathbed, she's gonna find out that her man's been going through all this by himself, but that sucks even more.
That would suck too. It's like such a tricky situation.
Exactly. Like I said, later on, Cass describes it perfectly, so I won't say more. But basically, Amren says, "Well, I hope you're content now." Nesta didn't respond, didn't know what to say or do with herself. She simply turned on her heel and ran from the apartment. Yep. Oh, so emotional.
Now this is Cassian.
Okay, now it's Cassian. Yes. He's gone to the river house. And then he's so basically. It was just kind of sad that he was like, I shouldn't have let her take the bath, done this or whatever. And then he went down the stairs.
Oh yeah,
he went all exactly. I'm like, how y'all doing this, mother of
her sent fresh and furious.
Man. And then at the bottom, this was the scene. It said Cassian. Rhys's voice was a thing of nightmares of the darkness between the stars. Cassian froze.
That made me like,
oh my word, I know.
Had like the shivers,
And then he said, what happened? He said, Rhys's face was wholly calm, but death, black raging death lay in his eyes. Not a star or a shimmer of violet remained. Whew. Wait, his eyes turned black. They weren't purple anymore.
Oh, dang.
That's trippy. I don't know what's going on right now, but and they said Nesta saw fit to inform Feyre of the risk to her and the babe. And to you, buddy, okay? Yeah. Her and the babe. Cassian's heart began thundering even as it splintered. So sad. Like, Cassian, honestly, okay, I understand Feyre's, like, tough place right now. Rhys, tough place. Yeah. Cassian's in the worst position right now. Because it's like, oh crap, do I choose my love or do I choose my friend? Who do I go? What, like,
Does he know that they're mates by this point?
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Oh, I think he suspected it from like the beginning.
Suspected it, but it hasn't clicked yet.
Yeah, I think it clicked when he gave the soul. Okay, so maybe not yet.
We'll think about it. Or we'll
but then, luckily, Rhys kind of makes the decision for her. But oh my word, this scene, I was like, this was a jaw drop scene. I was like, and this, I swear, the rest of the book I like flew through. Like I swear, I have no writing because I think after this scene, I was like, damn. Yeah. So he gets get us out of the city right now before I effing kill her. Oh my goodness. Again, it was intense, but still, I'm like, Rhys, calm down. Like, someone ratted you out and you're gonna literally threaten to kill her sister. Anyways, whatever. We'll get to that. Yeah. Oh my word. Okay, one chapter done.
Good chapter
done. Let's get there. Chapter 47.
Alright, cliff notes for this one.
Cliff notes for this one. Fly off to the mountain.
Short chapter.
Yep. I wrote finally, Feyre. I'll explain later. And then just some of the best lines are in here. This whole rest until part 3 is, man, like I said, this is the part of the book where I can reread any time and just guarantee I'll bawl my eyes out. We'll see if I make it through today. No promises. Okay, let's see. So, very first, whatever. So, Cassian found Nesta sprinting
Oh, yeah.
And I literally was like, at first I was like, man, training's paying off. She just went downstairs. She just ran out. She's
sprinting.
Man, she's just
probably terrified for her life, though. She probably knows Reese is
That's
on her
what
way.
it said. It said as if she suspected that Reese was about to set out on a hunt that only her spilled blood would halt.
Yep.
She's like, I'm gonna die right now. And she's like, oh,
Cassian
crap.
didn't give Nesta the chance to see him as he soared down the alley, snatched her around the waist and beneath the knees, and swept them into the sky.
So cute. Okay, I still love Cassian all this. But this next scene was, for me, like the symbol of... Okay, so it said she didn't fight him, didn't say a word, just lay in his arms, her face cold against his chest. At this point, I knew that she'd given up.
Yep, she was...
This was the point where, for a minute, maybe she ran and was like, crap, what do I do? But I think at this point, like, that was the defining moment, is now... She honestly doesn't even care what's going to happen to her right now. She's like, you know what? I dug my grave, and she just... So, man, I don't even know what, like, not to read, because these whole everything... Do you have anything on that page? Because I just have the next one.
That was it.
The next one is just, she deserved to be turned into bloody mist by Reese. Wished Cassian had not come to save her. So, that's why I wrote it. I was like, this is her final defeat. She's like, honestly, what she, at this point, like, she literally believes whatever happens, it's not even, I deserve it, and, like, this should happen. It's honestly, she just does not care. And again, when Nesta doesn't care, that's when
It's scary.
It's scary, and that's when I feel the most for her, because I was like, oh my god. To get to that point where it's like, I genuinely don't care what happens to me. So sad. I cannot. And then they flew to the mountains.
Yeah, they're camping.
Cassian, whatever, grimaced as he lit, as if every part of him hurt, and dumped the pack Azrael gave them at his feet. So Az gave him a little pack. It was kind of funny how they all, like, the boys all work together. They're like, okay, well, let's not get her killed. Let's not get Reese into a murder mode, and let's just whatever. But then he said, we'll camp here tonight. He said quietly, coldly, and I was like, so sad. Like,
I know.
And again, now that
he saw, like, how his brother was.
So I'm, like, justified. That's fine. I'm not upset at him for it. But it's like, but Nesta just learned that everyone's against her, and she just hurt, in her mind, everyone she loves. And the only person that she maybe had a little hope for was just cold. Oh, just broke my heart. But then she didn't want to speak, resolved not to say another word for the rest of her life.
At least, like, when he says, like, I'll make a fire, like, he's still taking care of her. He's pissed at her, but he's still taking care of her. And he's still kind to her.
Well, it's real. If it's not him, no one would. Like, she probably would have died if it had been any other, like, instant. It just breaks my heart. But it is what it is. Okay, so then she couldn't stand it. There was nothing kind in his face. So she turned away, surveying the small area, blah, blah. She starts looking. Anything else before the break? I just marked. It's called the Sleepy Mountains. Just kind of a funny. Sleeping Mountains, whatever. So there were smaller peaks, blah, blah. And then this is where I was like, okay. So this conversation is the one that I was referring to.
This favor is literally in Cassian's mind.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So she says, Cassian, he goes, I forgot you can mind speak. She said, can't decide whether she means blah, blah, blah. So then he's like, are you all right? And he said, I should be asking you that. Yeah. And again, this was where the entire book, again, I wasn't a Reese and Fair fan. This book was when I was like, ugh, they're really annoying. I don't love them. This was finally the point where I was like, okay, I like Feyre again. It wasn't until this page, 488, that I was like, okay, thank you. She said, Reese overreacted. Yeah. He completely and utterly overreacted. And I was like, oh my God, finally someone said it. Because no one else can say this except her. Yeah. Because he's being such a baby. Again, at this point, okay, not completely unjustified. I get why he's mad. Totally fine. But Cassian shook Cassian shook his head, though Feyre couldn't see. He says, I'm sorry you had to learn of it. And again, thank you. She goes, I'm furious with all of you. I understand why you didn't tell me, but I'm furious. And again, I completely agree. I would be too. I'm totally right there with her. But then he goes, well, we're furious with Nesta. And she said, and I think this was the most loving, like, sisterly thing I can imagine someone to say. And she just said, she had the courage to tell me the truth. And again, that's what the two of them share. Yeah. The two sisters, or all the sisters, have hated being trapped, being whatever, viewed like this and weak, and everyone like being against them. Exactly. And undermining them. So I was like, this is finally something they share. And a part of me is kind of sad that they're not together at this moment. Like, if Reese would just calm the hell down and Nesta was still there, I feel like they actually could have had a really good moment. Yeah. But then he said, she told you the truth to hurt you. Yeah. But then, again, this is what I like. This whole rest. So she said perhaps, but she was the only one who said anything. And again, I'm like, yes, obviously the ends doesn't justify the means. Yeah. But I think Feyre was bound to know. She needed to know. I don't think the way she found out was good, but I don't even think that Nesta did so terribly. I think everyone's going to be like, this is why Nesta's terrible. This is why everyone hates her. Yeah. And I was like, again, I didn't love it. But Could it have been worse? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. To me, this
at least
could
it
have
came
been...
from her sister.
It did. Yeah.
You know?
Imagine she found it. And again, imagine she's on her deathbed and everyone's like, hey, we forgot to mention you're all gonna die, all three of you.
Yeah,
okay.
all three of you.
Sorry. And then Cassian sighed through his nose. And this, okay, so he says, he thought it over.
Yes.
I think she saw the parallels between your situations and in her own way decided to avenge you both. She says, that's my feeling too. Reese disagrees.
Which I don't know why Reese disagrees. Like, what is there to disagree about?
Because he's so annoying.
But he's probably also just emotional right now and
he's super
angry
emotional,
that he can't even think about it.
Yeah, and he's literally like, again, nothing Nesta can do. It can be right. He's just hated her from the beginning. Let's be real. He's not even given her a chance. Farrah's literally begged him to, and he hasn't. But this, again, I was like, this is the most loving thing. Both of them. So Farrah's defending her and being like, guys, calm down. But I genuinely believe that this was Nesta's way of being like, I'm being wronged. And she saw Farrah and she's like, you know what? You're being wronged too. Yeah. Let's just put it all out in the open. Yeah. So that's why a part of me was like, I feel like people, this is the most controversial chapter because everyone's like, this is where we hate Nesta. Mm-hmm. But at this point when Cassian explained it, I was kind of like, you know, I don't hate her. Like, I don't hate that this is how it went down. Nesta hates it, but it's because everything else is bubbling up again. But I love that Cassian kind of realized this too. He's like, I think she decided to avenge you both. Mm-hmm. And I think the only other person who could see it from her point of view is Farrah. And she's like, yeah, I think so too. So I just thought that was
I thought it was a really cute moment between Cassian and Farrah as well, because they're like the two people that know Nesta like, the best.
The only people, if anyone's voting on anything, it should only be them. Of course, Reese disagrees. I'm so sick of him. Yeah. But then, he's like, how can you be calm about this? She said, I'm not going to let my son feel those things. Mm-hmm. I'll fight for him, for us, until I no longer can. And then Cassian said, we'll fight for you too. And she said, I know. But then luckily, so again, I think this whole conversation is probably just my favorite convo in the whole book.
I love this conversation.
So then she says, Reese had no right to chase you from the city or to threaten Nesta. He has realized that and apologized. Whatever, don't believe you. But I want you to come back home, both of you. Where did you even go? So I thought this was probably the moment where I was like, okay, I think Farrah, I don't hate you anymore. You deserve to be a high lady. Mm-hmm. This is the most mature. I think this is the best thing you could have done in this situation. Finally. Because again, I just think Nesta's been so wronged by the two of them, Farrah and Reese, so much that I was like, finally. I think this is the first time a decision is made, even though Reese isn't a part of it. Like,
I wonder, like, when Nesta lashed out like that, I wonder if Farrah realized, kind of like, I don't know, like, she, like, felt what Nesta's been feeling. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I said,
that was the moment where they both were feeling the same exact thing. Nesta found out truth. Oh. That's why part of me is like, you could see it from the perspective of, she did it to hurt her. Mm-hmm. But I also see it as, but also maybe in some, again, twisted way, you can call this messed up, maybe in some messed up way, she saw Farrah and that's what she thought. She's like, you know what? You're in the dark too. So am I. Like, I feel like crap. You might as well too. But at least you'll know the truth. Mm-hmm. Because maybe Nesta deep down inside was like, well, I'd rather know the truth and know who my friends aren't than be in this fake whatever. Exactly. So, yes, it was to hurt her, but I don't think it was, like, only out of spite. So I love that they mentioned this because it was just whatever. So...
But the bottom part was really cute too. Like,
so cute.
I think, when Farrah said, come back, and he was like, I think we're gonna stay out here for a few days. We're gonna hike. And then Farrah was like, Nesta has never been on a hike in her life. I guarantee she will hate it. And then he was like, then tell Reese this is her punishment. Like, you know what? That's a win-win for everybody. Besides
it literally
Nesta,
is.
Maybe, but
I think Cassian knows she needs it.
She needs it.
And he's
because I agree. So like, if they came back right away, Nesta would not have had that time to think, to let out her emotions, to, like, because she had that big mental breakdown at the end.
I'm so excited to get to that.
That big burst, So and she needed that.
Yeah, she needed that, and I also think that if she had gone back right away, she would have forever just felt guilt and sadness. Like, it would have gone to, like, super I
think she would have gone back to her old ways.
Like, almost super old. I think she would have still felt bad, and, like, maybe been nicer to Farrah still, but I think she definitely would have just reverted back to just a really sad state. Yeah.
Cassian knew what she needed.
And then it was just so sweet because at the very end, Farrah just says, please take care of her, Cassian, and yourself. And he says, I will. Mm-hmm.
That's well, I also like when Farrah said, he says that he knows he's supposed to say that's unnecessary, but to tell you that he's secretly delighted.
Ugh, whatever. It's so funny, but Reese. Reese.
Okay.
Well, look at us.
Nice. 48. Chapter 48. We're almost to chapter 49.
49?
This part, I was kind of surprised. Like, I'm glad Cassian, like, approached it like this, more like drill sergeant.
Yeah.
You know? Versus like I was surprised he wasn't as like comforting.
Yeah.
But I don't think she needed that. Like
no, I thought that from the very beginning. I was like, Cass, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Not only is this out of character, you should know she needs this. But I was rereading this, and there was one part a little right before I think we finished this section where he says something, and I was like, oh, I get it now. So at first I was like that too. I'm like, Cass, I think she's had enough coldness. Maybe offer
especially
her
after
warmth.
his talk with Feyre, and like Feyre's good, like everything's good. You know, things are talked out. So it's kind of like, oh, dang, like he's kind of coming out cold.
He's almost like letting her think whatever she wants. Like he didn't tell her.
He's
like,
letting her overthink.
By the way, Feyre's fine. Reese is upset, but it's like he genuinely was like,
okay. Yeah.
Which to me was kind of like, oh, okay. Which maybe she would have felt a little better knowing Feyre doesn't like hate her, but okay, it's fine. So yeah, first was just get up. Like, but then, okay, this whole part, I just love all of this. This, honestly, these little, 20 pages, to me, made Nesta who she is and made this book like, oh my god. Like, it
showed growth.
I've yet to read something that's so beautifully written and executed in this way that this is what actually made this book my favorite. Yeah. And again, I will reread these couple chapters and cry every single time because I don't know if it's because I relate to her or it's just written incredibly or what, but when I read the acknowledgments and what Sarah like wrote about the mountain and stuff, I cried too. It was this. Oh, okay. Let's just get started. I can talk about this forever. Okay. Whatever. He's being cold, and she even mentioned she said there's nothing warm in it, no challenge or light, just solid stone cold warrior. My only notes for this were they were hiking. So it's pretty much all
it didn't matter whether she ate, slept, or hiked any of it. Yeah, didn't matter.
So at this point, that's when she realized, like this mode of this type of depression is so hard. Not caring about anything because it's hard. Like you don't want to eat. Food doesn't taste good. Yep. You don't want to do anything. Nothing seems worth it. Yep. So seeing her go through this is very much. It's just so sad. Like very relatable. Super sad. Anyone who's been through something like this is just so. I just never felt so seen than in all of this. This was so incredible. Anyways, moving on. I guess on to the next page. It just said, he said, you can wash the dishes, blah, blah, blah. She didn't care. Let him drive her to the ground. Let him make her walk and act the servant. It wouldn't fix anything. Wouldn't fix her. So right now, that was her final, like, the reason she kind of jumped off was like, nothing's going to fix her now. She literally thinks she's broken everything in her life, including herself. And she thinks, her and Cassian aren't. She thinks everything's done. It's just so sad. And I think her reaction is totally, like, human and normal for a broken person. And it's just like...
She's completely broken at this point.
Yeah, it's so... I just love her so much. She doesn't deserve... Okay, it's okay. It's hard to read. I know. I need to remind myself. Okay. So he made her carry the big bag, which is kind of funny. But hilarious. I kind of liked... And you know what? Symbolism. Like, the weight she carries.
The weight. I didn't have anything on the next page.
Next page, it just said Nesta gave herself over to it. The aching of her body, the panting of her breath, so sharp it was like glass, the roaring thoughts. Like, to the point where the pain doesn't even mean anything. Like, even though she feels it, it
just doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't care. It wasn't until, page 492 before the break.
Yep.
So she didn't look at him.
That was the only
didn't let him. Yeah. So.
I know.
So she didn't look at him. Didn't let him see the word in her eyes. Okay. Sorry. Before this. So he goes, fill this if you faint. So basically the water. He's like, don't be dehydrated. If you faint, you might fall off the mountain and break every bone in your body. She didn't look at him. Didn't let him see the word in her eyes. Good. He went still though. His next words were gentler, and she resented them too. Rest up. So that's the part where I realized, I think Cassian knew she didn't need something gentle because she would have resented it and probably even hurt him. Like, I think if he was too nice right now, she would have just been like, you know what? I don't deserve your kindness. Let me just
You're just being
bite
nice
back
to
at it. Exactly.
For no reason.
Or she would have probably hurt him too.
Yeah, exactly.
So in a way, I think this was more Cassian protecting himself than it was like being mean to her.
At this point, like, less is more.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
I think she needs that. Like, she needs to be alone with her brain. And you being yourself and adorable is just going to hurt her even more.
Exactly.
Just so sad.
And this part was really sad too. Like, Cassian knew that Nesta often hated herself, but he'd never known she hated herself enough to want to not exist anymore.
I know. This is the part that made me so sad.
And like, she didn't even say anything.
Literally, he just noticed it.
Just the way she was acting, her like expressionless face, like just the cold face. He just knew like she did not want to be here anymore.
Yeah. I'll read that
not
paragraph.
Just like not hiking anymore, but like not wanting to be here anymore.
Yeah. So the next paragraph's where he says that. He said he'd seen her expression when he mentioned the threat of falling, and he knew going back to Valaris wouldn't save her from that look. He couldn't save her from that look either. I think that part too is like him seeing that is knowing, oh, I can't take her back. Like things can't go back to normal because honestly, I think at this point he's scared. He's like, I don't know what she's gonna do.
Wait, that's actually probably so true. Yeah. Like he's not taking her back there because he can't trust her to be alone.
Because he did leave her alone. He's like, oh, she's gonna take a bath. She's gonna walk it off, and that's where she like did something destructive and like went down the stairs. So at this point,
do you think that's kind of why? Because remember, like everybody, her first kind of like breakdown, I guess. Everyone was like, just let her have some time. Leave her alone, let her have some time. Everybody thought that was the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And now Cassian's like, we're not leaving her alone.
Like, actually.
Like, we're going to try something different this time. Yeah. I bet that was kind of like, maybe he regretted like leaving her alone because that just made her spiral last time.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what he realized at that point before she went down the steps. He's like, oh, I shouldn't have left her. I shouldn't have left her. She shouldn't have just left her. Let her take a bath and walk like
she needs somebody right now to be there for her.
Only Nesta could save herself from that feeling.
Which is so true.
It's so true.
Like she can't get better until she wants to get better.
Exactly.
Otherwise.
But that's what makes these situations so hard. Like anyone who has like had thoughts and had any of this, it's like you want to, you're the only one who can like make yourself better. Yeah. But also that's so hard when you don't want to. Like when you don't see yourself as worthy and don't see yourself as this. Like I think that's what people mean when they say like, hey, get help because you can't do it yourself.
Yeah, you're not going to get better until you want to get better.
Yeah, it's like you're the one who needs to get better, but you need to get someone to help you.
We're here for you, but
because if she was by herself right now, who knows?
Yeah, it'd be spiraling.
So it's like that's why if you need someone, like get help.
Yep.
So the fact that he was that person for her, it's kind of sweet. Whether he realized it or not, whether she realized it or not, I don't even know if she really understood the extent of how bad this was, and I don't think people do. And again, I remember being in that headspace of like, you know, I don't really care what happens to me. It's so sad, and it's almost like scary because you're like, whoa, I know I shouldn't be thinking this. This is not good.
It's just the random thought pops in your head.
Yeah, I'm like,
this is not great.
I know that's the moment where I realized I was like, okay, maybe I think that was when I got a therapist in college, and I realized I was like, you know what, maybe this isn't a good thing to think every day.
Maybe it's not normal to think.
Don't love that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was like, oops, it's getting a little dark in here. Okay. And then towards the end, it just says. Some instinct had remembered the healing felt. So he basically why he came here to like help her recover. It was kind of like his own therapy retreat. He said perhaps that was why he'd come. Some instinct had remembered the healing, felt this land's slumbering heart, and decided to bring Nesta here. Mile after mile, her silence like a looming wraith behind him. Cassian wondered if it would be enough. And this is the part where I realized, oh, he's so worried because he's freaking out.
He's what if this doesn't work?
Yeah.
What am I gonna do?
Is this not gonna be enough? Like, poor Cass, he's so strong right now. And, like, to have someone strong
it's therapy for
when
him
you're
right
like,
now, too.
He's like, I need a break, too.
Man, I'm not hiking because of you, Nesta. I'm
hiking because I'm stressed. Like, I know I say I'm here for you, but really, I'm just freaking out right now. He's so cute. Oh.
Chapter 49.
49? Oh, man. Okay, my note for this was the breakdown. Okay.
The breakdown.
Can I get through this?
Let's see. This is so sad. Okay.
We need more wine soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were halfway up the mountain. They're camping there. She's like in pain because hello.
Yep. Yeah, he was like, take the pack off before you pass out, so I can at least cook dinner myself.
Yeah, but then it said his words were cold, distant. He'd barely spoken to her all day, and she said she deserved it, deserved worse.
Yeah.
So at this point, nothing's helping. But I think, because she'll mention in a little bit how, like, the pain is at least stopping her from thinking. Yeah. Which on the one hand is good. Because, like, on one hand, there's a level of, okay, I need to distract myself. And, like, just stop all the thoughts. But there's also a point where it's, like, you need to get to a place where you're like, okay, but I need to think all these things. I need to think this through. I need to get to that point.
Exactly.
And so right now, it's a little bit of both for her. She's very much, like, distracting herself. But then the second she pauses, the second they stop, she's like, oh, I deserve this, I deserve worse, blah, blah, blah. Like,
yeah, those thoughts.
I know how scary that is.
Wow, I didn't have any, like, underlines in this part.
I had to go back. I got a bunch, so I really had to go back. But that's why, again, I think I just sympathize with so much. Because I remember, like, the days of my life I was most depressed, I remember I got so much work done. I would work, like, 30 hours a week while going to school.
Yeah, you're a busybody.
Yeah, that was, like, such a distraction. And then a few years later I realized, like, why am I stressed all the time? Why am I so anxious all the time? I was like, oh, because I didn't address my issues when I should have.
Exactly.
So
like packing your days full because you just want to keep yourself busy, distract yourself.
I know.
Not think about anything.
Sad. Yeah, I know. So second half of page 496, right here, it says the thought of sleep must have lured her into it. So she finally fell asleep from who knows how long because he had the fire on the first night and she was like all the way against the wall trying to sleep, and that was so sad, and that broke my heart even more of like that was the point too where I was like, she's not even standing up for herself at all. Like before she would fight him and be like, no fire, like let's not do whatever, but now she's just like, you know what, she's like, I even deserve this, I deserve more. Like she's so deep right now in the hole that it's so sad. Oh, I just feel for her. Let's see. And like though she could have used it though she could have used him like as warmth, Cassian like a few feet away, his back to her, the moonlight gilding his wings. Yeah. I was just like, just back to, I could just imagine, just like I don't know, sad, just so lonely and cold. Even though there's people around, it's just but he still left her food.
He still left her bread and cheese.
But said she didn't touch it, ignored the grumble in her stomach, and again, I was like, this is, you just see her slipping away more and more. Now it's not even like food. She's like, I don't even care about food. It's just so sad. Like seeing her progression of basically worse and worse until it kind of gets better. It's just, oh my word, so many feelings. Anyways, so then after the break, she just stared at Cassian. So he talked. The next 2 days she did not. So I guess she's not talking. I can't imagine the thoughts. Like, oh my word. And then I got to the middle of that page. It said that side blurred as her head. Her whole body swayed a bit. So this is where she's kind of started. She's a little dehydrated. Yeah. So paragraph after that, she's like, I had no water. Last night had been the same as the previous one. She had reached their camp, collapsed, and barely been able to remove the pack before falling asleep. She woke later to find a plate of cold food beside her, covered with a thin cloth against the elements. She ate while he slept, then closed her eyes once again. Only sheer exhaustion could summon the oblivion she craved. And I think, again, I wrote, like, I think Cassian kind of knew that, is she really wants the oblivion. I think she really needs a break from her brain. And I think he knew that the only way to do that is to, like, literally tire her body out until to like, force her to sleep, basically. Yeah. Which is kind of sweet in a way. He's sweet, like, you know, you need to rest, and the only way to do that is to make you super exhausted. Every time they stopped throughout the day, she was so tired she fell to her knees and dumped the pack. And during the pause in motion, this is probably marked this whole rest of the paragraph. During the pause in motion, she was so weary she couldn't think about the ruin she'd made of herself. The ruin she'd always been deep down. No training, no learning about the Valkyries, and their mind-stilling would help. Nothing would help. It's just like, oh man, again, you see her going to the darkness, like even metaphorically, step by step. It's, I'm not hungry. It's, I don't care about my body. It's, I'm not even thirsty. It's, I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to sleep. And then it's nothing would help. At this point, the hopelessness is so deep, where she, like, all of her progress. And that's why, like, mental health is such a journey, because it's like, it sucks to think.
You can, like, be, like, 20 steps ahead. Yeah. And then one thing would happen, one thing goes wrong, and you're just right back to where you were at.
Yeah, so relatable, right? I totally know what that feels like. So sad. It's like you feel better about yourself, and you're like, okay.
And then you just feel even worse about yourself, because you're like, I just spent all that time and energy into making myself feel better and helping myself. And then one thing happens, and I'm just back in the dumps.
I know. That's why I hate it. That's why, like, even with, like, what just happened, I was like, ugh. I wasn't even that upset in the moment, but to me, I'm like, man, I'm about to, it's about to not be good.
So much time doing, and it's not even like, for me, I mean, it's definitely like the time and the energy and the money and all that stuff that I'm wasting, but it's like, you're just a busy gal right now. For me, it's more like getting my hopes up, like, I'm doing better, like, I have a shot at this, or, you know, I don't know, it's just like, getting my hopes up, and then it's just like, it's like the one minor thing happens.
Yeah, it's that you're going up and up a little bit. It's like great, and then just smacks you back down.
Glad that I got my hopes up for nothing. You know, like, so stupid.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what makes you colder and colder, because then it's like, oh, I don't want to get my hopes up anymore. I don't even want to try.
So then anything that good happens, you're like, okay, cool.
It's like, exactly. It's like I'm like completely numb to it, because what's even the point if it's all gonna go back down? And I hate, because I think that was like one of my, honestly, as a person, that's just one of my worst qualities is, like, I consider myself a pretty positive person. I think most people do. Yeah. But I'm also very, very, like, pessimistic in the sense of, like, when things are going well in life, a part of me is like, oh, I'm just waiting. It's about to happen. Something really terrible. And it's all going to end. It's all going to... And I know how toxic that thinking is. And I always advise people, like, don't think that way. Like, I know the reason you shouldn't think that way. But it is hard, and I almost
that's me, like when I lay my head down on the pillow and the motion pauses. That's when all like those like something bad's gonna happen. I already know it.
Exactly.
Like, my life's been too good lately. What? Something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know.
You're just like expecting it, and you're just like, what? And for me, it was always like, what could it be? And then I think of all the terrible things.
Let me list everything that could possibly go wrong versus
like,
sleeping.
Let's start with the smallest thing, and then we're just gonna keep going until the next day.
And then I'll just not sleep, and it'll be great.
Because who needs it when you can think of all the things that could go wrong?
Sleep does not help mental health at all.
Totally.
Yeah, we don't need sleep to help mental health. So
why would you sleep when you can just stay up and think of everything that could go wrong in the world?
Exactly.
Hello.
Like, what would you rather do?
Exactly. Hello.
Anyways, next 498.
Well, depressing. Yeah, 498. Okay. So the very top. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. You said very top.
Yeah, very top. So she could wait for the water because to stop was to allow those thoughts in. And again, this was the coping mechanism that we all know very well of like, don't stop. And I'm very much like that. I'm almost like, I will force myself to do something. For me, it's when I start feeling tears, I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to cry. And then I'm like, oh man, these dishes really need to be done. And then I'm like, oh, I gotta do this. And I didn't do all this. I was like,
queen.
And then I'm like, don't cry.
But then there's sometimes where I'm like, I'm so sad or like kind of numb almost, where I'm like, I know I need to cry. And if I just cry, if I just let it out, I feel so much better. But I can't cry. So then I'll just like,
oh my word,
yes. That's the worst.
When you
I'm like,
can't
I would
cry,
rather just freaking cry. And then usually when I cry, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm done. I'm cool. Like life's good again. You know? But it's like when those moments when I just can't cry, I will put on a sad movie, sad music, and I still can't freaking cry. And I'm like, dude.
That's like when I reread these chapters.
That like numb feeling, like you're just not feeling great.
It. Oh my word. The numbness.
But you can't cry either. You just need to cry.
I know. The numbness is so scary. It's the worst, but I don't know what I hate worse, like what I hate more, either the numbness or just crying, but like feeling weak and being like, this isn't gonna like. For me, it's almost like I'm even upset at myself for crying because I'm like, why are you crying? What is it gonna change? What is it gonna help?
Yeah,
I'm still gonna be sad, and my face is gonna be puffy. So really, there's really no benefit. It's
my face is gonna be puffy.
Oh my word, so sad. So.
But yeah, I underlined the bottom too, and she was like, oh wait,
yeah,
I think I need to read more of it. Cassian hadn't so much as stumbled once. She would know. She watched him all day long, but he stumbled now. Nesta lurched forward, but no, that was her though. It was the one. She was the one that was falling.
Yeah. Oh my word. So crazy. This is the whole. Like, the whole rest of this.
She fainted. His relief was a primal thing in him. Wait.
Okay. So Cassian, he like whirled around because he heard it, and she's face down.
That's right. Okay. It's not a funny moment.
No, me too. I wrote that down. I was like, wait, face down. Like all he sees is like the back of her head and a backpack over her, and he's like, oh my God, she fell.
I'm just picturing this like little girl like
with a
giant backpack just on the ground. It's so funny.
Oh my word. But yeah, not funny moment. Okay,
no, not funny.
So she's not moving, and so he swore and rushed down to the stony path. And he slid to his knees before her. Sharp stones bit into his legs through his pants, but he didn't care. Okay, Cassian's coming back to himself. I love this. So yeah, this is where he said he didn't care. Not as he turned her over, his heart thundering. She'd fainted, so he was relieved that she just fainted.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's what you were getting at. Yep. But then I literally said, can you imagine if she actually died? Like, imagine Cassian took her on all this. He's like, I'm gonna help her. And then he's like,
I'm gonna help her.
He's like,
her.
Hey, Farah, I know you said to take her out, but I killed her.
So the first time she had a breakdown, I decided to leave her alone. And then the second time, I was like, I'm not gonna do that again.
The second time, we just had a really long conversation a couple times. And then her other breakdown, she died. I killed her. So anyways, and we're all glad that didn't happen, because that's great. So then he like forces her.
And Farah would have been like, I told you she doesn't like hiking.
Be like, what did I say, you idiot? Nicholas. So good. I've been rewatching that too much. Anyways.
God, I love that.
I know. So she fainted, he was relieved, and then he forced her to drink water.
Yeah.
And then, so sweet. So this is where I'm like, I just need Cassian to be himself. And I think the world is a better place with Cassian. Because this is the point where now he's like, Matt, he snapped. He said, you should have been drinking water throughout the day. She stared around them, and then he couldn't stand that look. He said, the vacancy, the indifference, as if she no longer really cared whether she lived or died here in the wild. Ugh, so sad. And he reacted. His stomach twisted. Instinct bellowed at him to wrap himself around her, to comfort and soothe. But this is interesting. Maybe this is a theory. I don't know. But another voice, an ancient and wise voice, whispered to keep going. One more mountain, that voice said. Just one more mountain. So he said, we'll camp here tonight. A few more feet and you can sleep. She didn't move, as if she couldn't. And at this point, I don't know if she couldn't or if she genuinely was like, I'm actually done moving. Like, leave me here. I don't know. And so he told himself it was because she'd fainted. It might not be sturdy. But he walked back and he picked her up with everything. And he's so
Heck and all.
Oh, she said nothing. He knew it was coming, the storm. He's like, I can feel it. It's about to go down. But this is interesting for later. But he knew Nesta would speak again. And when she did, he'd be ready to weather it. That was just really cute. The man. Like, this book.
He does not have to be there for her.
No.
He does not have to weather it.
He could have brought her back. He could have done all this. He could have done so much. And this is what makes Cassian the man. I'm sorry. I know everyone loves Reese, but come on. He's kind of he's a little annoying in this book. But I was like, but Cassian is letting himself get hurt as many times as necessary for... I just love him so much.
It's so cute. It's like this guy is going to be here through it all. Like, this is my lowest of my low.
Literally.
And he's just going to be here for me. He's going to go on a hike with me.
Exactly.
A very long hike with me. And I'm going to pass out. But he's going to be there for me and he's going to weather the storm with me.
And I think this is kind of so what we've talked about in like the past is like the people who keep showing up are so special because it's not just, oh, I'm going through something bad and you keep showing up. It's like when people literally say you've seen me at my worst, you think of it like when I say worst, this is what I mean. Like I've been this terrible in the past, and the people who have seen this and have still chosen to like invest in me and be in my life, I'm like, oh, it's making me cry. I'm like, and the fact that Cassian's that type of person, it just it breaks me down.
And I feel like he would do it for anyone.
Yeah, it's true. He would do it for any of his family.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's someone who just keeps hurting him, keeps hurting the people around, but he sees what it is. He's like, but she's not a terrible person. Yeah. She's doing this for her own reason. It's just so, like, hard. I don't know. It's just so healing to me. That's all it is.
It is healing.
Because you don't expect this from people, honestly. Again, I would never blame someone who left me in my darkest times and came back. I'd be like, hey, that's fair. I was going through it. Like, I'm glad you got out when you did. Yeah. But, like, the people who stayed around when I was at my worst, like, they don't understand how... Exactly. Like, you hold a special place in my heart literally forever. Exactly. Like, even if I never see you again, like, in my mind, I can list, on one hand, a few people that genuinely invested in me and still stayed there when I was so awful. Exactly. And I was like, I'm never going to forget you. Like, when I credit people for literally everything, all of my accomplishments... which I don't have a lot right now, but in the future, all the accomplishments I have, everything in my life is like because of them. Because without them,
you and
who knows?
Stuck with you.
Like when you have, especially when you have these dark thoughts, it's like who knows what you would have done. And
exactly. That was all I had for that page.
Oh, my last one was just so Nesta woke up and she was looking at everything around her and she just said it was a blessed relief to be nothing and no one because she's not around anyone besides Cassian that she knows. She's in this empty space of just wow. At this point, a part of me is almost happy for her that she doesn't hate herself right now. She's like alone, and she's like, I don't mind being this. I don't mind being like nothing amongst whatever. So it shows like, the tiny bit of hope. Like, come on, and it's so sad. So then this whole next page, page 500, this damn book. I love it so much. This one I wrote like read it all, but I don't know what to read. Let's just do it paragraph after paragraph. Okay, go for it. Where she barely knew, maybe?
She barely heard?
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. She barely heard. 1 foot after another, mile after mile, up and down. The mountains watched her, the river sang to her, as if guiding her onward to the lake. Oh, it's one of my favorite paragraphs. Okay, so it said, no amount of driving her body into the earth would make her good. She knew it, wondered if he did too. Wondered if he thought he was trekking out here with her on a fool's errand. So sad. She's even like, why is he even here? Yeah. Oh, God. Why is he here? Or maybe it was like one of the ancient stories she'd heard as a child. He a wicked queen's huntsman, leading her into the deep wild before carving out her heart. She said she wished he would. Wished someone would cut the damn thing from her chest. Wished someone would smother the voice that whispered of every horrible thing she had ever done, every awful thought she'd had, every person she'd failed. We're back to comes up again, Again, whenever she goes into the darkness, it's the darkness, it's the thoughts, and it's the I failed. Oh, this part too. I totally get that. She had been born wrong, had been born with claws and fangs, and had never been able to keep them from using. They always say she was like, she's a wolf. They always say that. So is she a wolf or is she a witch? Okay, she's a wolf witch. Okay, she's a new breed. Had been born with claws and fangs and had never been able to keep from using them. never been able to quell the part of her that roared at betrayal, that could hate and love more violently than anyone ever understood. Elaine had been the only one who perhaps grasped it, but now her sister loathed her. I forgot about Elaine.
I know. Forget her. Ugh. Literally, where is she right now?
What is she doing?
I don't even want to know. I'm kind of glad she's not here, actually.
Yeah.
So she didn't know how to fix it, how to make any of it right, how to stop being this way. Ugh.
She didn't remember a time when she hadn't been angry. That's sad.
I know. That's so really sad. Like, she can't remember. And
she's just always had that anger in her.
Exactly. And I totally resonate with that too. Like, I remember there's a point in my life where I was like, oh my God, when was the last time I was like...
I'm just always angry.
Nice to myself. When was the last time, like, I was happy? It's so sad. Oh, my word.
Maybe before her mother had died. But even then, her mother herself had been bitter, disdainful of their father, and her mother's disdain had become her own.
See, this was what I was trying to remember. Is, like, I knew she hated her father, but I was like, but why does she hate her father so much? And again, I think it's because she takes a lot from her mother.
Yeah.
Like, and she even said that. She was like, I was her creature. I was this and this. She instilled so many thoughts into her mind that I just wondered if this was one.
And when you grow up thinking, like, when you grow up around those thoughts, like, you're going to think them yourself, right?
Yeah. So in the next chapter, she's going to freak out, and I'll kind of come back to this. But she couldn't quell that relentless turning anger, couldn't stop herself from lashing out before she would be wounded.
Yes. She was no better than a rabid dog. She had been a rabid dog with Amryn and Feyre, a beast exactly like Tamlin. She hadn't even cared that she'd made it down the house stairs at last. Did it count when it was driven by fury? Oh, this next part.
I know. This always gets me. I can't. It says,
That's when I sad-faced.
Me too. I was so sad. Oh, yeah, that is your oh, my word. Oh, it says, did she count? Was she worth being counted? It was the question that sent everything crumpling inside. So this was like... Oh, I cannot.
Nesta cleared the hill Cassian and mounted ahead, and a sparkling turquoise lake spread before them. It lay slightly sunken between two peaks, as if a pair of green hands had been cupped to hold the water within them. Gray stones lined its shore. I'll keep going. Nesta didn't see the lake or the stones or the sunlight in green. Her vision blurred, and her eyes stung as if they had been cleaved open to allow the tears to pass. Here it goes.
Isn't that sad? At this point, it's like they were literally forcing. Like, she genuinely could not hold it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just read the rest.
Yeah.
So she made it to the stones before she fell to her knees. So hard the rocks bit into her bones. Was she worth being counted? She knew the answer, had always known it. Cassian whirled towards her, but Nesta didn't see him either, or hear his words, not as she buried her face in her hands and wept. Oh my goodness!
But when she did that, when I read that, I was like, finally. Like, she needed that.
Let
Even
go.
that first, like in the Frost and Starlight or whatever book, like, she needed this moment. Like, she needed that breakdown, cry. She needed that. I'm like, thank God. Like, this has been building up for a long time.
This is building up for 3 books.
Yeah,
this is
not
a long
just
build-up.
this book. No.
Oh my word. Oh.
All right, last chapter.
Oh my word, last one. So crazy.
Chapter 50. This is a good chapter to end on too.
This is amazing. I still can't believe how close we are. Oh, okay, last part. So this one I just put. Well, I put the explosion, but then I was like, I think it's just Nesta's soliloquy, so it's just her long whatever.
Yeah.
So he's just there next to her, which makes this all so much better.
God, this is what I highlight or underline.
I don't say it loud. Why don't you just read these chapters? We're like, thanks for listening to us read these chapters. But basically, she allowed all the thoughts hit her. Yeah. Let the truth, everything. She, at this point, and again, I like that she mentioned she allowed it. Yeah. So it's not even that it's like coming out of her, because I feel like that's
let
almost.
It happen.
I feel like when all these things come out of you, like you just start crying, you freak out. It's more of like an ambush of your own feelings. You're just like freaking out. Oh my God, I'm feeling all these things. This is more like she's so hopeless, and maybe this is her last. Like, why not? Yeah. Why not let every terrible thing come through? Maybe it's because she deserved it, or she thinks. But she's just letting it come. So she said she could never outlive it, her guilt. Yeah. And there was no point in trying. She sobbed into the darkness of her hands.
Oh, yes. And Cassian, he didn't touch her. He didn't do anything. And all he said was, I'm here.
Oh my God, this makes me
so sweet. No words. So caring.
Could not have been more perfect.
That is the way that Nesta needs to be treated.
Perfect. This whole chapter... It's like some of the best writing I've ever experienced in my life. This is so good. And then she sobbed harder at that because the guilt is now eating her alive. to hear sweet Cassian just say, I'm here. And to me, I was talking to one of my students about this because I was crying about this. And I said, okay, let me get on my little soapbox for a moment. But I was like, when I was the most, like, crying in my car, breaking down, like, everything's going wrong. I remember there was, like, one time I was, like, crying, like, sobbing, crying. It was so bad. And I remember I was, like, just praying because I was like, I don't feel anything except, like, awfulness. And I hate it so much. And I don't know why. There was, like, I remember it was raining, so it was such a distinct moment for me.
Of course it was raining.
Of course it was raining. But it was raining, and it was so peaceful, though, that to me, that just felt like a warm, like, hug of, like, God just being like, you know what, I'm here.
I'm here.
Cry. Yeah. Do what you gotta do. And so when I read this, I remember I started crying like crazy, because I was like, oh my God. It's so relatable. Yeah. Like, to just need...
You just need somebody's...
strength.
Yeah.
Even if it's someone else's.
Exactly. You need somebody else to give you that strength when you don't have it.
And you need those people with you that are willing to be strong for you when you can't, because you can't always be strong, and you need someone who can be... So sad.
Yeah.
So then he said, Nesta, his fingers grazed her shoulder. She couldn't bear that touch, the kindness in it.
The don't touch me, don't be kind to me.
I know. She's now officially...
Which is exactly what we were saying before. Like, if he was kind to her from the very start...
that's what I was going to come back to.
That would have just, like...
She would have reacted. Probably would have freaked out.
Yeah.
Right now, she's so broken that she won't freak out at him. But at that point, if he took her back and was trying to be nice to her, was like, there, she would have freaked out, I think.
I forgot she went into this in depth.
Oh, my word. I know. That's why I'll read this eventually. It's so sad. But so sweet. All of this is amazing.
The list of reasons surged.
But so sweet that he just, again, he's being so gentle right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll come back to this in a second. But he just said, why? That's it. Yeah. So, like,
he pushed it slightly.
Just so gentle. Like, but you know them. They always push each other, right? Yeah. But they know each other's boundaries so well. He just goes, why? And then the list of reasons, surge, fighting to get out. And then she said, the words she's been needing to say from the beginning. All she said, and that literally changed everything, was just, I let him die. Yeah. Finally.
Because remember, like, a while ago when we were talking about how she was struggling with her father's death, I'm like, but, like, why is she struggling so much? Because, like, she hated her.
Yeah, like, it's sad you hate him. But, it was this. And so she goes on.
But I'm like, there's definitely more.
So I let him die. He came to save me. He fought for me. I let him die with hate in my heart. Hate for him. He died because I didn't stop it. So the real reason, the root of all of this was, again, she's already seen herself, or she's already thought of herself as terrible, right? Always. She thought of herself as terrible. She thought of herself as, like, horrible. She has such a low opinion of herself. But I think not until this point was her opinion of herself so gone and so terrible that she could actually notice why. Like, again, tracing back to, like, what are your triggers and blah, 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 like, self-therapy or whatever. It's like, why do you react this way? So it's like, finally, at her very worst, she can finally kind of, all of her thoughts can just pause for a moment, because it's so bad now that she's already let them all in, that now she's at the root of her problem. Is she already sees herself as this horrible creature, but the worst part of her, she says, is, like, her anger and her hate that she can't control. And she said, because of that, I let the one person that came to save me, that said he loved me, died. So, so sad. And then she just goes on saying, I was horrid to him until the very end. I was so horrid to him all my life, and he still somehow loved me. I didn't deserve it, but he did. I let him die. I can't undo it. I can't fix it. I can't fix. And at the very end, all she says was, I can't fix me. Sad. I cannot.
Oh, it's literally so sad.
She says, I can't bear it. And
I can't bear it. It isn't your fault. Your father's death is not your fault. I was there, Nesta. I looked for a way out of it, too, and there was nothing that could have been done. I could have used my power. I could have tried.
And he said, Nesta. He said it like a sigh, as if he were pain. Like, as if it hurt to say it.
Like, he finally understood, kind of, too. Like,
I know. It's so sweet. Yeah.
His arms were around her, and she was being pulled into his lap.
This is so...
He couldn't hold it any longer.
Literally, like, he's like, I need this. He's like, I'm here for you, but also, can I hold...
Into his strength and warmth. And I could have found a way. I should have found a way. His hand began
stroking her hair. Stop it. This, I cannot. I'm literally so... And then she finally says the fire. Yeah. And I like how he said he's so his hand stilled, and then so he stopped patting her head, but then he asked why, and he kept. This is just such a. I can just see this, and it's so beautiful. So she said that they crack, and he says like your. So he finally figured it out. It's like your father's neck. She said yes, that's what I hear, But then after that, she's like, it's torture. So sweet. She says, I should have found a way to save us before then. Save Elaine and Fair when we were poor. She said, I was so angry, but I wanted him to try to fight for us, but he did it. Again, the very first thing, back when they were like young kids, was like her anger came from her dad, kind of like her mom now, if you think about it, right? It's like they made her so angry that she couldn't even put that aside. And that's what she hated most about herself. And I think that's what makes me feel the most bad for her. Is that her anger is because of other people. It's like the two somewhat bad people in her life made her angry, and like her mom ruined her, quote unquote. Like, yes, obviously a lot of things were her decision. I'm not like forgiving it, but and that just kind of like set her up for such a long time in life, to where the thing she hated most about herself was kind of like she mentioned what was most like her mother and all these things. It's just so sad.
It's so sad.
Ugh. And then she even says it at the very... I'm sorry, do you have anything?
No, keep going.
Yeah, at the end of like that paragraph. So she says, I close my eyes and I see her that day she went out to hunt for the first time by Farah. I see Elaine going to the cauldron. I see her taken by during the war. I see my father dead. I'm going to see Farah's face. Oh, so it's like, already she hates herself. And she remembers every single thing she's done that's bad. It's not even that... That's why I hate when people are like, she's such a bad person. I was like, no. She thinks of herself that way. And that's all she can think about now. It's like, she, right now, and again, I know being in these negative things, you can't think of a single good thing about yourself. Like, even when you're so depressed and people are like, oh, but you're this and you've done that. It's like, I can't even think about that. I can't even think of a single positive thing right now because all the bad stuff just seems so bad that it's just so terrible.
And okay, this part too, when she had said, like, I can't bear to be in my head. I can't bear to hear and see everything over and over. That is all I hear, the snapping of his neck, his last words to me that he loved me. I didn't deserve that love. I deserved nothing. But I was kind of like, but you know what? Like, he could have said, like, he had her whole life to, like, say, I love you, show his love. And he decides to plant that right before he dies. And now that's the last thing that she hears. I'm like, which, like, sweet, but, like, also, to me, it's kind of selfish of him.
He's definitely not a good dad.
It's kind of like, really.
This last saving grace wasn't like.
Now you're making her feel guilty because she spent her whole life hating you, but, like, it was kind of justified. You know what I mean?
Hello, it was justified. You're a terrible father. Like, I'm sorry.
Right. So it's like, now, I don't know. I just felt that it was kind of like, really, you want to be, like, the heroic, like, I love you, and you die.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I've been like, oh, BS. But I think that's why it was so off-kilter for Nesta, too. Because if he died the way he was, she wouldn't have been upset. But because she was like, oh my god, wait, like, did he actually love me all this time? Yeah. Like, that's what makes it even sadder.
I thought that was kind of, like, selfish of him.
It was, honestly. That's what makes him so bad. That's why it's like, wow, that's so sad that this is what broke her. But I get it. But yeah, right before before what you read, that's what she said. She's like, I hate it. I hate every part of me that does these things, and yet I can't stop it. Exactly. I can't let down the barrier. Because if I let it fall to let everything in, and she's like, this is what would happen.
Exactly what happened. And then this was really, really cute what Cassian was saying. Like,
his hands tighten around her.
I can tell you more about my mother and how her death nearly destroyed me. I can tell you in detail about what I did afterward and what it cost me. I can tell you about the decade it took me to work through it. This broke my heart. I can tell you how many days and nights I suffered during the 49 years Amarantha held Reese captive. The guilt tearing me apart that I wasn't there to help him, that I couldn't save him. I can tell you how I still look at him and know I'm not worthy of him, that I failed him when he needed me. The fact drags me from my sleep sometimes. I can tell you that I've killed so many people I've lost count, but I remember most of their faces. I can tell you how I hear Eris and Devlin, and the others talk, and deep down I still believe that I am a worthless bastard brute. And Amren freaking called him that.
So sad.
That it doesn't matter how many siphons I have or how many battles I've won because I failed the two people dearest to me when it mattered the most. His mom and Reese.
So sad. And this is what him and Nesta both share and understand. And this is why they're just perfect for each other. They need each other. And they could never fail each other because they understand the feeling of failure so much, but they would never look at the other and say, you failed me.
Exactly. But so even this, in the next part when he
said... Oh my word, look at this page of me.
No, seriously.
This is the best, chapter ever.
But I'm not going to tell you any of that. He said, pressing a kiss to the top of her head.
I lost it.
The kiss to the top of the head is the most comforting.
Like, nothing else on earth beats, like...
safest feeling...
Like, it's the love like no other. It's just, like, feeling that love of, like, a kiss on the forehead when you need it.
I can do this.
Oh, my God. So
when
sweet.
you're crying and you can't handle life at the moment.
This.
Oh.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. Chapter 50, in A Course Over Flames, I don't want to hear chapter 54 of Mist and Fury anymore. If I hear someone say that, I'm going to be like, shh, shh, shh. No. But what about chapter, because, okay, let's keep going. Let's see. So, he said she couldn't find the words to tell him that he was wrong, that he was good and brave. So right now, honestly, she's like, oh, that's fine. Let's talk about you. I love you. Let's think about this. Yeah. He says, but I'm not going to tell you all of that. Like you said. So he pressed against the top of her head. I have 100 hearts after that because that was so cute. The wind seemed to pause, the sunlight on the lake brightening. He said, I'm going to tell you that you will get through it, that you will face all of this and you will get through it, that these tears are good, Nesta. These tears mean that you care. I'm going to tell you that it is not too late, not for any of it, and I can't tell you when or how, but it will get better. What you feel, this guilt and pain and self-loathing, you will get through it, but only if you're willing to fight. Only if you are willing to face it and embrace it and walk through it, to emerge on the other side of it, and maybe you will still feel that tinge of pain, but there is another side, a better side. And I just put that...
I just need to reread it whenever I'm, like, feeling down. I need to reread this paragraph.
That's what I'm saying. This whole page is just... like, I've just never heard it said better.
No.
Like, when someone tells me, like, oh, what should you tell someone who's feeling sad? I'm like, just quote
If anyone's ever sad, I'm gonna be like, hey, hold on.
You're like,
I'm going to tell you that you will get
in
through
the words of Cassian. But I just... and... I wrote a couple of, so my only notes for, like, that paragraph was, like, he just has always cared. He said, these tears are good, Nesta. Like, he's just so encouraging and caring. And,
like, it's almost like Nesta's in such a vulnerable state right now. Mm-hmm. And he's like, but this is good. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, you need this.
This
is good.
He's acknowledging that this isn't weak. This isn't a mess.
Yes, exactly.
Like, whatever. And then my favorite line comes in a bit. So then she says, I don't know how to get there. I don't think I'm capable of it. His eyes glimmered with pain for her. He said, you are. I've seen it. Okay. Oh, I can't. I hate this line, but I love it so much. I can't do. Okay, can you read it?
Okay.
So much.
Okay. I'll read this whole part here. Okay. You are. I've seen it. I've seen what you can do when you're willing to fight for the people you love. Why not apply that same bravery and loyalty to yourself? Don't say you don't deserve it. He gripped her chin. Everyone deserves happiness. Wait, I need to read. I need to underline. I need to underline.
Okay.
Okay.
So I tell you, I cry every time I read this stupid chapter.
That line. Why not apply the same bravery and loyalty to yourself? Oh.
That's what I'm saying.
Everyone needs to hear that.
Oh, I need to fan myself for a moment.
The road there isn't easy. It is long and hard and often traveled utterly blind.
That's what she said. Sorry, go on.
That's what she said.
Okay.
He nodded to the mountains, the lake, because you know the destination will be worthwhile.
That was so beautiful.
So beautiful.
And that's why, like, that line is, like, my favorite, because I feel like the people I see that are so, like, sad and depressed, and in this, I always see those people, and I was like, those people to me are the best, like, friends and family members. Like, I see them standing up for others, and I see them being such good people, and I see how easy that is, because, like, I've been there. I was like, yeah, I can stand up for anyone any day of the week. Like, the people I love them to the death.
Yeah.
But it's like, I definitely don't love me that much.
Right.
And that's...
But, like, why not apply that to you?
Exactly. I'm like, why not? Why is it any different than anyone else? Like, I know my darkness, yes, but...
but everyone has the darkness, too.
Yeah.
So why are you, like, so hard on yourself,
I know.
you know?
Because...
It's so annoying. And, like, when she said, like, leave them in the past, apologize to who you feel need to, but leave those things behind.
You know, and I agree. She's like, it's not that easy. Forgiveness is not that easy.
Yeah. Forgiveness is something we also grant ourselves, and I can talk to you until these mountains crumble around us, but if you don't wish to be forgiven, if you don't want to stop this feeling this way, it won't happen. He cupped her cheeks, calluses scraping against her overheated skin. You don't need to become some impossible ideal. You don't need to become sweet and simpering. I love this part.
I know.
You can give everyone that I will slay my enemies look, which is my favorite look, by the way. You can keep that sharpness I like so much, that boldness and fearlessness. I don't want you to ever lose those things to cage yourself. It's always the cage.
I know. It's so sad.
So strange.
And so I just loved her back and forth with this. It's so realistic. But that was her
but
reaction.
I still don't know how to fix myself.
Exactly.
There's nothing broke.
She's not even upset of like fixing other things. She says, I can probably fix other things, but her main concern is like, I cannot fix myself.
But this part though, what Cassian said, there's nothing broken to be fixed. Like, you don't need to fix anything. I thought that was so good. Because I feel like
so
there's so many times I'm like, I just need to fix this to myself. Like, I get irritable really easily. I just need to fix that. But you don't need to fix anything. Nothing is broken. That's just that's just you, you know?
You can always get better, but it's not like you're just like...
It's not like you're this broken
horrible person that like you can't be loved until you're better.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. And then Nesta knew... I love this too. Nesta knew he wouldn't have ever said it, but she saw it in his... Oh, this hurts so much. She saw it in his gaze that she had hurt him many times. She'd known she had, but to see it again in his face... So she lifted her hand to his cheek and laid it there, too drained to care about the gentleness of the touch. Like, she's so far... Like, her strength is so out of her, but she's letting him see that part of her. Because if it's anyone, oh, so cute!
Aww,
This
so sweet.
I hate this. Go for it. Do it. I can't.
I was like, I'm gonna cry.
I'm already crying.
I'll be with you. Oh, wait. Cassie nuzzled into her hand, closing his eyes. Oh, I didn't think he was closing his eyes. I'll be with you every step of the way, he whispered into her palm. Just don't lock me out. You want to walk in silence for a week, I'm fine with that. So long as you talk to me at the end of it.
Your pen, I'm gonna bring mine.
She stroked a thumb over his cheekbone, marveling at him, the words, and his beauty. Some essential piece of her clicked into place. Some piece that whispered, try.
So sad. This freaking book.
That is so sad. But good, like good.
It's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, Cassian opened his eyes and they were so lovely. They nearly stole her breath from her. She leaned forward until her brow. So they're like forehead to forehead. This is so like beautiful.
I love the imagery.
Oh, me too. This is so beautiful. Like,
I think
this is definitely one of the best chapters.
Than like the imagery of people being like forehead to forehead and like having like a moment and like God.
Like they're literally holding each other's faces forehead. Oh my God.
I just find that so like
it is.
Sweet and romantic and beautiful, and I love it
so much. And despite all that brimmed in her heart, all that flowed through her body, sure and true, she merely whispered, "Thank you." Oh, I'm gone. So good. Okay, so this is the part where I was like, oh, I wonder. Oh, this is so sweet. So it said the storm had broken, and it was not what Cassian had expected. He had expected rage capable of bringing down mountains, not tears to fill a lake. I thought maybe that's why he was a little colder to her. Maybe he thought like she's gonna crumble the whole area around us. Like if she's gonna break down and it's gonna destroy everything. Like I think he expected this big, crazy, like scary blowout. But then right after he says every sob had broken his heart. This hurt him probably so much more than she'll ever understand. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I love the part. Every shake of her body as the words worked themselves out of her had torn him to shreds until he hadn't been able to keep him from wrapping himself around her, comforting her.
He literally couldn't physically help it hurts anymore. So much. I literally need to be with you right now. Yeah. I think that's so sweet. Because you know me, really I'm a physical touch girly. Yeah, so I was like, oh, I totally get it. I'm like, I just need a hug and I just need someone to hold me. And
this part though, when she hadn't heard wood cracking in a fire, but breaking bone, he should have known.
And he's like, how many times have I done this? But and then he says every snap would have reminded her of her father. And
the winter solstice party, like
why she snapped at everyone. Like no one she had just been going through so much and no one even asked. No one asked. No one cared. Eventually they were like, hey, Nesta, you want to work? But no one was ever like the way they treated Farah, the way they treated Elaine. No one saw her as weak, so they almost expected too much strength from her. They're like, you should be over this by now. You should be working on your powers, this and this. I was like, look, she's just a sad little girl and she just needs someone there for her.
Exactly.
And he said, how many fires had he built these last few days? The first night, she curled as far from the flame as she could get, had slept with an arm over her head, blocking her ears. So sad. Like every moment he's recollecting of like,
yeah, she had been suffering. Yep. And he had no idea how much it consumed every facet of her life.
Literally everything. That's what I'm saying. Everything in her life was this. Her fear, her rage, her anger. And no one guessed it. No one figured out, like, hey, help a girl out. They were either leave her alone or force her to do something. Like, it just makes me feel so much sympathy. And I'm just so happy that Cassian's the one to, like, figure all this out and to see it. And it's just so beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah, he'd seen her self-loathing and anger. But, again, basically reiterating, but hadn't realized how much she had been aware of it, how much it had eaten her up. He couldn't stomach it to know she'd hurt this much for so long. And then Cassian held her until the sun set, the moon rose, and they remained there listening to each other breathe. Oh my word. Oh my word. Like, being held until you're done crying is just, like, a form of love that...
It is.
Oh, my goodness.
It is. You don't need to say anything. Just hold me.
Oh, I know.
And then he had pressed a kiss to her head and said, get up.
So cute. And this was, honestly, this was so cute and funny. Part of me was like, this is so funny and adorable. But then part of me is also like, this is where Cassian, I think, is proving to her. He's like, see, you don't need to be, like, your vulnerability isn't weakness.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's now channeling her strength. So he says, so he gives her the sword. He says, take it.
Yeah.
Show me the 8-point star. So he's like, show me Nesta. He's basically pushing her to do something like physical now. And at first I thought that was kind of silly.
To show her that she still can do
that's
this.
What I'm saying. At first I was like, you think I want to work out after crying all night? But I was like, oh my word, this is actually so beautiful. Because he's saying, see, you're not any weaker. I don't see you. And like, it's such a safe space for her that she's never had before. No one's ever gifted her such a safe space to be like weak, but also strong, but also like vulnerable and explain everything. It's like, oh my word.
It's beautiful.
Like, Cassian, you are the man.
Every slice was perfect. Like the 8-pointed star was stamped on her very heart. Every movement bloomed with purpose and precision. In the moonlight before the slivered lake, she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen.
So cute. And then I just love the very last sentence. He just says, the soft smile that Cassian had never seen before.
Oh, yeah.
Standing on the moon-washed shores of the lake, Nesta began.
Oh,
good. I can't believe how close we are, but also not close to the end. Like,
I'm not going to be okay when we get through some chapters in this part 3.
We have my favorite parts still left. And then I
have so much underlined in part 3, Valkyrie.
Oh my word.
How did we get through this so fast?
I know, I don't want it to ever end. I love this book so
I know,
much.
me too.
It's just great. This is what I think this is the first part where I realized, oh, okay, this is my favorite book. It was already like right there. Like it was already, I love this book. But this part,
was a game changer.
It's like nothing else I've ever read before. It's so beautiful, and I'm so excited. So part 3, what's it called? It's really called just Valkyrie. So excited for this. I cannot wait for us to get to this part. Episode 10 next time.